Hello and welcome to another video. In this one, I'm going to be talking about the Omicron variant and how it has affected my investment strategy. Now, apparently I'm not so great at this whole upload schedule thing. Mostly it's a bit of analysis by paralysis. So on 7 a.m. on a Wednesday, what better to do than record a video? Regardless, if you haven't been tracking the market, it has been rather, for lack of a better adjective, frothy. Now that's usually an adjective I use to describe coffee. In this sense, I guess it means very volatile, unpredictable, up and down. For example, this is the 5-day chart of the SPY ETF, which is an S&P 500 ETF. That just means it follows the broader market. Between Wednesday and Thursday, it was down around 2%. From Friday to Monday, it was up 1.5%. And then Monday to Tuesday, it was down 2%. And now pre-market Wednesday, it's up 1.5%.
Editing Dana here. It is Wednesday night and the market was down 1.1% today, having a sort of y equals negative x squared trajectory today. It was actually up a lot this morning. Anyway, just wanted to point that out. Thought that was interesting.
So these are just pretty insane numbers, and even if you just look at the chart, it's very up and down. This would be an unpleasant roller coaster to be on. If you haven't heard, there is a new variant of the virus that's been keeping everyone at home. This variant has been dubbed the Omicron virus. And I think one of the main reasons that the market is so up and down about this is that, honestly, what do we know about the Omicron virus so far? In truth, not much. And people and investors specifically don't like uncertainty. And when there's a lot of uncertainty, there's a lot of frothiness in the market and a lot of up and down, massive buying, massive selling. Now, I'm not a scientist, so I can't speak to the science, virology, biology, whatever behind this specific mutation. I can only read and try and gather information from experts. But it seems that people are unsure of how serious this variant is supposed to be. And in response to the variation, the US is planning to require all air travelers to the US to be tested within a day of their departure, regardless of vaccination status. So if this variant gets really serious, we could see another huge wave, think Delta or just the initial wave.
And while I was editing this video, news came out that the first United States case of the Omicron variant was reported in California on Wednesday, today, as of at least for me right now. So that is news.
And to make matters worse, or I guess not worse, just sort of to pile on top of the news that's already here, Jerome Powell ditches the transitory tag and paves way for the rate hike. If you don't know, Jerome Powell is the US Federal Reserve Chair, and he was in charge of basically running the money printer all day long during the initial wave, the initial virus, and that's sort of what has propped up the economy and the stock market. And he's always said that inflation is transitory, which means temporary, but he's saying, maybe it's not so transitory anymore, and in a clear sign that the Federal Reserve is shifting to tighter monetary policy, which is just less money printing, told Congress on Tuesday that it's probably a good time to retire that word, and then that word being transitory. So I just thought that was interesting and not really great timing on top of the new variant. People are confused, people are scared, people are worried, so the market again is frothy. Another thing that adds to the worriedness or just uncertainty is that people on Wall Street don't agree and scientists don't agree. Now, to be fair, people on Wall Street never agree about anything, but some people on Wall Street say that we could see a modest blow from the Omicron variant. I've seen articles where they say that this is another wave of Delta, this is going to be terrible, and I've also seen articles that say, could Omicron actually be good for stocks? So very different takes, and no one seems to agree, and it's just uncertainty, uncertainty, uncertainty. Now, in terms of how this has affected some specific stocks, these are good examples of sort of the, sentiment in the market right now. For example, Peloton, which is a classic stay-at-home stock, it has done really well. I forgot that it is the end of 2021. It did really well during the original virus. Look, it was up 400%. Yeah, it's down 61% year to date. But if you look at the date that the new variant was announced / discovered, Peloton was up at a peak of 8.6% in a single day. It has died down since then, so maybe hype is dying down. Another one is Zoom. Zoom also did really well during the initial virus. 600%. Dang, should have bought Zoom. Anyway, when the new variant was announced / again discovered, Zoom popped up 13%. Again, maybe because of hype or something else, it has been dying down since then. And another, similar adjacent field is Moderna, which is one of the companies that makes a vaccine. When the new variant was announced, this went up, 35% in a couple days, which is insane. This also has been doing crazy, crazy well. What is this? From peak to trough, it was up, oh my goodness, 2,300%. That is incredible. This is another stock that benefits from another variant. Whereas a stock that would not benefit from another variant or another wave is Boeing, because Boeing, they do travel. When there's variants and people stay at home, people travel less. And in immediate response to the new variant, Boeing just goes like, bye, I'm going down 7.5, almost 8%, which is insane for these stocks to move that much in a single day. Lastly, this one isn't really a stock. This one is called VIX, and that stands for Volatility Index. As the name would imply, it measures volatility in the market. Now, I'm not actually sure how they measure volatility, but you can just think that when volatility is high, people are uncertain, people are scared, there's a lot of buying, there's a lot of selling. So when the variant was announced, the VIX index went up almost 50%. Actually over 50% from like here to here, which is insane. Another thing that is concerning about a potential another wave is that this is a chart of what is called the M2 money supply. Now, we don't need to get into the economics of this, but you can just think of this as the amount of US dollars kind of in existence. And since, I guess this chart goes back to like 1960, 1959, whatever, it slowly trends upward in this pretty uniform line. And if we zoom in on 2008, like the financial crisis, it speeds up a little bit. However, if we zoom out, this like looks like a blip compared to 2020. And in 2020, to combat everyone staying at home, GDP going down, etc., the Fed printed a lot of money. So if we look at the entire chart, like 2008 is nothing compared to this pretty upward trajectory in 2020. And I bring this up because the original response to the first wave was to basically print money. But at least I would like to say that if there was another wave, I hope that they wouldn't solve it by just printing more and more money, because the more US dollars in existence, the less value of one single dollar. Obviously, they could continue printing money. This isn't a challenge. Please don't take this as a challenge to print more money. But that's just one concern people have, and I also have as well. If there is a huge another wave, how can the Fed sort of deal with it without hopefully printing even more money? Anyway, that's enough about macroeconomic factors that sort of stress me out when I look at them. Now on to how Omicron is changing my investment strategy. This may be anticlimactic, but it's not. My strategy is to buy and hold good and resilient companies. For example, Costco is one of them. Costco has been doing phenomenally over the past 5 years. Like, this is a pretty smooth trajectory upward. Yeah, there's a little blip in 2020, but as of 1 year, it is up 40% to date, and I believe the entire market is up about 25%. So Costco is outperforming the broader market this year. Now, I could honestly do an entire video on why I love Costco as a company and as an investment, but obviously that wouldn't fit in this video. So another stock and company that I love to own is Apple. Apple is obviously, it's doing phenomenally. Over the past 5 years, is up 500% since its IPO. Oh my goodness, it is up 413,150%. Imagine being able to buy an Apple share for the split equivalent price of 4 cents. Now, I wasn't around then, but just the idea is very interesting. Apple year to date is up 28%, outperforming the market by a few percent. And this one is also very interesting. Apple is a very large, very resilient company. So the past few days when the entire market has been going down, Apple was like, nah, I don't think so. And it was up like 3%. I think yesterday Apple was one of my only stocks that was green. The entire market was down, but that was just an interesting observation. But my point with these stocks is that my investing strategy is, again, to buy and hold good and resilient companies. And actually, I've been thinking about revealing more of my portfolio / my entire portfolio and more about personal finances. So if you want to see that kind of stuff, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and apparently I'm supposed to tell you to hit some bell or something. Back to the companies. These are very resilient businesses that I think will grow pretty much regardless of the world and market conditions. Of course, there are concerns like chip shortages, labor shortages, but I believe that of all the companies that exist, these are some of the best growing and that have the highest chance of succeeding regardless of the environment. Another thing I do want to note is that companies like Costco and Apple, they're not small. They can be considered growth companies, but generally they're very well established, very large companies. And this year, at least specifically, these sorts of resilient large companies have been doing really, really well compared to more speculative growth companies. And a pinnacle example is ARKK. So this is the ARK Innovation ETF. This holds a lot of super speculative, super new or smaller growth stock. And year to date, this ETF is actually down 15%, whereas again, the entire market is up about 24% year to date. This isn't to say I don't have some growth stocks. I actually do have some growth stocks that haven't really proven much, but I think they're going to do well. Honestly, those are just a flip of a coin. We'll see how they do. Another point I want to bring up is that the market seems to be reaching new all-time highs. Real estate seems to be reaching new all-time highs. Asset prices of pretty much everything are going up, and people, analysts are always saying the market's going to crash, the market's going to crash, the market's going to crash. And one of these people is Jeremy Grantham. And this article is actually from 2018, where basically he's been saying that there's evidence of a market bubble in the making. And my stance on market crashes, it's pretty much always been the same. Yes, the market is going to come down, it's going to crash eventually. But eventually, you don't know when. It could be next month, next year, 10 years from now, your next lifetime. So don't try and predict the crash. Again, Jeremy Grantham has been calling for a crash. I think since like 2010, he's been saying there's going to be a crash, there's going to be a crash. And I guess if you say it every single year, the market is going to crash eventually, so eventually he'll be right. But if you had listened to his conjectures in 2010 and not invested, you would have missed out on this crazy, crazy bull run where the entire market is up 300%. This doesn't mean I think the market will go up forever. I don't think that's possible, but I would rather potentially sit through a crash, put more money into the market, buy more stocks, than miss out on any potential gains over time. What's that saying? Like, time in the market beats timing the market. So my strategy is just a dollar cost average. If the market goes up, I buy more. If the market comes down, I buy more. If the market doesn't move, what do you think I do? I buy more. But I just don't try to time the market crash because who knows when it's going to happen. If you've been waiting for a market crash since 2009, you missed out big time. A few other things for me that help me sort of maintain this mentality is that I don't rely on my portfolio for income or survival. I don't ever pull from this portfolio to fund my lifestyle. This is like completely separate from my daily spending and stuff. So if it goes down 50%, I'll be upset and kind of sad, but it won't be the end of the world and it won't like ruin me financially. Similarly, I can weather the dips because I don't need this money to survive. And lastly, I'm in my early 20s, so I have a very, very long investing time horizon. That I don't know if that was the proper phrase, but I have a very, very long investing horizon. I don't need to retire anytime soon. My view on the market is that over time, probably by the time it'll oh my goodness, I cannot speak today. It's too early. But probably by the time that I retire, the market will probably be higher than it is now. So we'll see how that goes. But those are just some things that help me maintain the mentality of just buy no matter really what the market is doing, and we'll see where it goes. Lastly, a sort of related but not like financially related thing I wanted to point out is that the Google trend for the search term Greek alphabet has been going up dramatically, as one would expect, so that's quite interesting. And last point is that this variant is called the Omicron variant. The previous very, very deadly variant was called the Delta variant. I would like to know who is picking these letters and how they're picking it. Maybe it's like the way the mutation works, it looks like one of these letters. I just find it interesting that they're like hopping around the alphabet. So again, I'm not like a scientist, I don't know anything about viruses, so if anybody knows, I would love to hear an explanation. Other than that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys soon.